Welcome to the Crime Ledger, where every page reveals a mystery.
The morning of June 7th, 1992, in Springfield, Missouri, the sun rose over a quiet suburban neighborhood, warming the rooftops and filling the sky with a false sense of peace. The streets looked ordinary, with sprinklers hissing across lawns and neighbors carrying newspapers back into their homes. But at 1717 East Delmar Street, a single-story White House sat eerily still. A place that, within hours, would become a crime scene without evidence, a riddle without an answer. Inside, 3 women were missing. The house was not empty. Their cars were still in the driveway. Their purses, containing credit cards, cash, and cigarettes, were neatly lined up inside. Jewelry rested where it had been left the night before. Makeup bags sat on the bathroom counter. A graduation cake, half eaten, was in the kitchen. A lamp had toppled over, the only sign of movement. It was as though the 3 women had been erased, peeled out of existence in the dead of night, leaving only their belongings as echoes. No forced entry, no broken glass, no blood, no screams reported, just silence. For Springfield, a city of just over 140,000 at the time, it was unthinkable. People vanished in movies. People vanished in big cities. But 3 women, a mother, her daughter, and her daughter's best friend, vanishing simultaneously, leaving behind a house that looked disturbingly normal? That was nightmare fuel. And from that day forward, the question would haunt every detective, every neighbor, every family member, every news report. What happened to the Springfield 3? Before they were headlines, before they were a case file, before they became whispers of a ghost story in Springfield, the 3 women were simply people living their lives. Sherrill Levitt. 47, was the kind of mother who never quite stopped being protective, even when her daughter was almost grown. Petite, with carefully styled hair and an easy smile, she worked as a cosmetologist. Her clients adored her, not just for her skill with scissors, but for her warmth. She was divorced, rebuilding her life with independence and strength, and had recently bought the little house on East Delmar. For Sherrill, that house was more than a roof. It was a promise, stability, safety, and a place for her daughter to come home to. Her daughter, Suzie Streeter. 19, had just graduated from Kickapoo High School the night before the disappearance. Suzie was vibrant, blonde, outspoken, with the kind of teenage charisma that made her magnetic to friends. She could be stubborn, sometimes fiery, but she was loyal to those she loved. She loved cars, had a soft spot for animals, and dreamed of a career in cosmetology like her mother. She and her mom were close, not in the sugary, perfect way, but in the real way, with arguments, laughter, and love stitched tightly together. Then there was Stacy McCall, 18, Susie's best friend. Sweet-natured with a sunny smile and a gentleness that drew people in, Stacy was the kind of girl parents trusted immediately. She was careful, responsible, the planner of her friend group. She and Suzie had known each other for years, often inseparable. The night of the disappearance, Stacy had spent the day going from one graduation party to another with Suzie, laughing about the future, talking about summer plans. Stacy wanted to be a teacher one day. She was grounded, steady, the kind of friend every teenager needs. These weren't reckless strangers. These weren't people living on the edge. They were mothers, daughters, friends, lives woven into Springfield's fabric. And yet, by dawn on June 7th, they were gone. The last hours of June 6th, 1992, were filled with celebration. High school graduation, the culmination of years of teenage angst and dreams, had finally arrived. Suzie and Stacy floated between parties, laughing, dancing, promising each other they'd get some sleep before heading to a water park trip the next morning with friends. Originally, Stacy was supposed to sleep at another friend's house, But plans shifted, as teenage plans often do. At the last moment, she decided to crash at Suzie's. It seemed safer, quieter, easier. By 2 a.m., the two girls drove back to the little house on East Delmar Street, where Sherrill was already asleep. Their cars, a red Ford Escort and a Toyota Corolla, were parked neatly outside. A neighbor later recalled hearing the girls pull in, car doors shutting. Then, nothing. The next morning, friends tried to call. The phone rang, but there was no answer. When friends arrived at the house, they found the cars still there, the purses still there. The dog, a little Yorkshire Terrier named Cinnamon, was anxious but alive. And there was the first eerie sign. The front porch light's glass globe had been shattered, shards littering the ground. But inside, the house was unsettlingly normal. Too normal. As hours passed, what should have been a lazy Sunday morning turned into a nightmare, unfolding in real time. The girls were supposed to meet friends at Whitewater, a water park, but never showed. Calls to their house went unanswered. Finally, worried friends and family entered the home. They found no women, no struggle, only absence. Like the house itself had swallowed them whole. Springfield police were contacted, though crucially and fatefully, the house was not immediately treated as a crime scene. Too many people had already been inside, friends, family, neighbors. In their desperation to find answers, they had touched phones, tidied small things, even cleaned up the glass from the porch light. Evidence was trampled before anyone realized it was evidence. Detectives canvassed the area. Neighbors had seen nothing, heard nothing. No screams, no sounds of a break-in. A witness later reported seeing a green van near the house in the early morning hours, but leads on. The mysterious van never went anywhere concrete. Police clung to small details. The purses lined up neatly inside suggested the women hadn't left voluntarily. The shattered light outside suggested someone may have lured them out. Phone calls came later that day, one with strange sexual comments, adding another layer of creepiness. The city of Springfield shifted from summer calm to nervous paranoia overnight. People double-locked doors. Parents clutched children tighter. Whispers spread. Was there a serial predator? Organized crime? Someone they knew? Fear settled over the community like a fog. The investigation was massive. Police chased leads across states, bringing in the FBI. Psychics called in with visions. Tips poured in from supposed witnesses. Every theory only deepened the mystery. The green van. Multiple tips described a suspicious van near the house. One witness claimed to have seen a man driving it. Others thought they saw women inside, but no van was ever found. Suspect: Robert Craig Cox. A convicted kidnapper and suspected murderer with ties to Springfield, Cox later claimed he knew the women were dead and even suggested their bodies would never be found. Was he bragging for attention or revealing the truth? A possible burglary. Gone wrong, some believed the women may have interrupted a burglary, but why take all three? Why leave everything behind? Others thought it had been planned deliberate. Someone wanted them silenced. But who and why? As weeks turned into months, the case grew colder. Each promising clue twisted into another dead end. Detectives described it like chasing shadows through a maze. Theories multiplied, each darker than the last. 1. Random stranger. Abduction. Could someone have been lurking, waiting for the girls to return home, striking at the perfect moment? Someone they knew. Was it a person trusted enough to make them open the door at night? Someone whose presence raised no alarm until it was too late? Cover-up. Whispers of organized crime involvement surfaced, with suggestions the women had witnessed something they shouldn't have. Buried beneath Springfield. In later years, tips suggested the women's bodies might be hidden under a hospital parking garage. Searches were inconclusive and excavation was never authorized. The most chilling theory? That they were killed and buried within hours of vanishing, in a place so well hidden, Springfield walks over them daily without knowing. Decades passed, families aged, friends moved on with lives but never fully. The case grew colder, yet never closed. For Sherrill's surviving family, for Stacy's parents, for Suzie's loved ones, each year was another without answers. Holidays were empty chairs at the table. Birthdays were candles unlit. Detectives, too, carried the weight. Many retired, still haunted by the case, replaying what-ifs in their minds. What if the house had been preserved as a crime scene? What if they had found the van? What if one more phone call had been traced? Springfield itself carries the scar. Residents remember that summer. Some refuse to drive past the house. Others speak of the case like a ghost story, a warning. Safety is always an illusion. The Springfield Three remain missing to this day. No bodies, no convictions, no certainty. Just three women who went to bed one summer night and were never seen again. And so the ledger closes, not with resolution, but with absence. The cruelest crime of all may not be murder, but erasure, the theft of answers, of closure, of knowing. When people in Springfield speak of the case, their voices lower, as though the mystery itself is listening. Children who were not yet born that summer still grow up knowing the story. The mother, the daughter, the friend who vanished without a trace. Perhaps somewhere beneath Springfield streets lies the truth, entombed in concrete or buried under earth. Perhaps someone alive still holds the secret, a darkness gnawing at them in silence. But until the day the truth is unearthed, the Springfield Three remain not just missing persons, but symbols of how fragile safety is. A home should be the safest place of all. Instead, that little house on East Delmar became a reminder that sometimes the walls don't keep the darkness out. Sometimes the darkness is already inside. And sometimes the scariest part of a true crime story is not the violence we know, but the silence that never ends. Thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe for more gripping stories of mysteries, injustices, and true crimes told like never before.